today I have a guest. His name is Biela. He is an actor, producer, writer, and private detective. So today I will ask him lots of questions. Finally, I convinced him to give me an interview. So today you will know lots of secrets, right?
Okay, yeah, I'm ready to go.
If I want to be an actress and I don't have big experience, I didn't finish university, I didn't go to college, so if there is a chance for me to be an actress?
I think probably the easiest way to be an actor or an actress is based on life experience. As an example, I do many television shows, movies where I play a detective, I play a police officer, or I'll play a mob guy, mafia character, something like that. And believe it or not, I have experience in all those things. I worked as a private investigator for many years, so the role of being an investigator detective to me is, it's like falling off a bicycle. It's easy as can be. For me, and it's like I'll go to auditions and do that sort of thing, and I almost get every single one of them because I look the part and I know how to play the part very, very well, and it's very natural for me to do so. I've also gone to acting school and I do play other parts, but generally as a rule it's good to get in and know what you're doing. That's the easiest way I found to get into acting, is to do a part you know the part. That way you're not it's if you've been a bus driver, try to play a bus driver. Honestly, if you look at all these television shows in Chicago, there's a lot of television shows filmed here, and they're always looking for actors for different parts. And when they're casting, if they're looking for a bus driver, the odds are they're going to hire a bus driver, someone who's actually done it, who knows the job. So the first easiest place I found to get into for acting was to do stuff that parts that are simple as pie.
And what about audition? If the person wants to be in fighting scene, it's your field, martial arts. Right. So is there a secret how to get the role in the movie?
There really is no secret. Honestly, it's like it comes down to unless you're well known, which most people are not. If you're not well known, you have to go to auditions and you have to try out for parts. And my advice to everyone when it comes to auditions, especially when they're younger, people are afraid to go to auditions, and my advice to everybody is, you will end, what I'm going to say, I told you the same thing. Go to auditions and be terrible, and quote unquote suck at it, and do that several times, and before long, you won't suck at it. You'll get really good at it, and you'll get used to being able to go to an audition and have someone go, that was terrible, and you go, okay, fine, it doesn't mean anything. Because once you get to the point where you don't care the outcome of an audition, you actually start getting a lot of them. It may sound unusual, but once you get past that ability to deal with rejection, which is pretty much an actor or model's life.
Yeah, people are afraid of rejection.
Yeah, people are afraid of rejection. You reject me, I give you a middle finger and say I couldn't care. Seriously, honestly, it's you reject me, fine. It's like, you know what, I'll find out. There's other places I can go, and what are the things I can do?
Yeah, but you're already an actor, and you already know your value. People would hire you for sure, and if somebody would not hire, the other guys would hire you, that's for sure, because you're a professional actor. But what about like those who are just starting? Like, just not to...
Yeah, but the point is, I wasn't always here. And I'm certainly not as big as a lot of the big actors, but the point is, you have to get out there and start somewhere. Well, there's a lot of acting schools that are not super expensive. You can get out there and you can get experience doing things. There's one in Chicago we're both involved with, Chicago Actors Studio. Yeah. And a lot of people, Ed teaches a lot of Shakespeare. A lot of people don't like Shakespeare because it's hard. Well, it's good that it's hard, because it's teaching you how to be an actor.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what you need to do, is to become an actor, to become an actor. And if you don't, like I said, if you don't have a ton of experience doing it, that's the easiest way, is to get into a school, do some classes, and learn.
Yeah, and go for audition.
I continually take classes and I continually learn. There's things I don't know, and there's things I want to get better at, and taking classes gets me sharper at my skills.
if I want to produce a movie and I need money, I don't have millions. From where can I get funding?
You're trying to fund a movie?
Yeah.
There's something called crowdfunding.
Okay.
Crowdfunding last year raised, this is not just for movies, but in general, crowdfunding raised somewhere about $2 trillion worldwide.
No way.
For crowdfunding, yes.
Wow.
For all kinds of different things, movies, products, science, technology, charities, but $2 trillion was raised.
Impressive.
Through crowdfunding. Well, there's a number of platforms that would specialize in crowdfunding. There's many of them. Basically, when you decide to do a crowdfunding program, an Indiegogo is the one I'm pretty familiar with. When you decide to do it, you're going to have to do some filming. You're going to have to do some interviewing of the principals involved and tell a story. I'm about to kick off actually a fundraiser on Indiegogo. It's for a movie regarding a person that was wrongfully convicted, spent 20 plus years in prison for a murder they didn't do. And the documentary film is going to be about how that happens. How does a person get wrongfully convicted? How do they go to trial? How are they convicted? How are they sent to prison for 23 years? How does that happen? What is wrong with the justice system that allows that sort of thing to happen? Why are the police corrupt? Why are the courts corrupt? Why is all that?
So guys, if you don't know who is the producer and director, I also didn't know. Like for me, they were the same dudes. So Larry will tell us today who are they and what's the difference between these two people.
Producer and director. Well, there's generally one director. He's responsible for everybody once everything's on the set. He'll have an assistant director called an AD, and there'll be people under him, but he's basically regarding filming the actual event. The producer, there's an executive producer. Generally, he's involved with getting the money to the project. That's why he's the executive producer. The producer themselves generally is the person that is responsible for everything to be on the set. So if there's not coffee, costumes, the cameras aren't there, the camera people aren't there, if something is not there, it's the producer's fault. So once the actors and the director and everything are on set, the set then basically becomes the director's set. But before that takes place, everything is the producer's set. It's his responsibility to get everything there.
And is he responsible also for finance? Like to get...
Generally, the executive producer is responsible for finance. That's basically his thing. He finds the money. He either has the money. A lot of times you'll find the executive producer is the person with the money, or they know how to get it, or they've got investors who want to invest. Because that's actually the biggest process of all of this, is raising money to shoot all this. Because generally most filming costs a lot of money.
Of course.
And as well, you know,
obviously.
But you know, unless you're renting cameras, which is a lot of times people will rent cameras because it's easier to rent for $1,000 rather than buying for $50,000.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I thought that to rent a red camera is quite expensive. Almost, I have heard it's like 50% of the cost.
No, you could find red cameras for, it all depends how long you're renting it for, but you could find a camera for a few $100s a day, a $50,000 camera for a few $100s a day. That's a lot cheaper than buying it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what do you think, once I have heard that people, when they shoot a movie overseas, they rent cameras from the USA and they ship it there. Like I have heard about the movie in Spain. So what do you think, like, is it better to bring your own cameras on set from the USA if you're shooting in Europe, or it's better to rent in Europe and just shoot using rental cameras?
Well, that's an interesting question, because it's like there's a couple of different things that are factors there. You have different power supply in Europe versus here.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So that's something you're going to have to deal with. First, then you have different formats for cameras there versus here. So if you're gonna film part of it here, and you're gonna edit it with stuff shot in Europe or somewhere else, you probably want to use an American camera. You want to use the same cameras throughout the entire project generally, because otherwise you wind up with problems editing later. You know, that's, if you're shooting with different cameras, if you're shooting with Panasonics and then you're shooting with Reds, they're both good cameras, they both have their benefits, but they're going to look different when you go to edit them. Especially if you're on a European camera, it's a different format. You know, now it's a big deal. No matter where you want to sell your product, you have to shoot everything in 4K now.
Yeah.
You know, Netflix basically has set the rule that everything has to be 4K or they won't buy it.
Wow.
Well, when you're, see Netflix last year and they're scheduled again to do that this year, they spent $8 billion, with a B, billion dollars, buying content. I think they spent in the last 3-4 years like $18 billion buying content. So they're the ones buying the majority of the content out there. So if they're the ones buying the majority of it, if you're gonna shoot something, it better be on a format they're all gonna. I think the reason they like the 4K is because that's pretty much now the industry standard, and you can edit everything within that standard.
Yeah. And
everyone can use it and deal with it. Because Netflix, I've been part of projects that were bought by Netflix, and it's like we haven't seen what they've done with them yet. You know, but it's like they're all in 4K and they can edit them and they can do with what they wish because they bought them. That's their product.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's really the difference. Is the European and Asian and all that have different camera. You know, I don't know what the word is, but formats or power supply, it's a little different. So you have to deal with that in editing. And that is one thing I do not do, is editing. That is a different religion unto itself. You know, people that do editing will tell you that you can do this, you can't do that, they can fix some things. You know, there's an old joke, we'll fix it in post, which means, you know, if you screwed it up in real life, the guys in the, and when it's done, are going to try to glue it together and make it look good. I've never been a believer in that.
Yeah.
Why fix it in post when you got the cameras and the people there? Let's reshoot it properly,
yeah, exactly.
So it looks right.
Yeah.
So we're not having to make a product that looks like garbage.
Yeah.
You know, in post, which post means after it's done being filmed.
Yeah, but you know, when they say about post, we'll fix it in post because maybe they don't know how to film it properly. Because I used to do that, like, because I didn't know how to film properly, but I knew post-production. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna fix everything in post-production.
You know, that is one thing that really comes back to when you go to shoot a project and you do a project. My advice is to sit everybody in the same room and have a shot list, know how you're going to shoot it.
Yes.
Because sometimes if you don't have that work out beforehand, you'll read a script and you'll say, God, that sounds great. And you'll go to shoot it and you can't figure out how to shoot it.
Yeah.
That, especially if you have any special effects things. We've had special effects things where someone's gonna fall out of a car, roll, and then magically be back in the car. And it sounds great when you're sitting around talking about it, or you read the script and it goes, oh, that's cool. And all of a sudden everyone's there on a Saturday afternoon in August and you're filming and it's like, how the heck do we do this? We'll say if we do this, well, we can edit this and do this, and it looks like garbage.
Yeah.
So no, I'm a stickler for having the cinematographer and the camera folks and the editors and the director up front. Everyone have a shot list, know what you're gonna do. So that way when you shoot it, it sounds boring and very mechanical, but it takes a lot of the wrinkles out later when you are trying to edit it. You've got that shot list, you've got the script, and you can put it together. And it's like building a puzzle, and the puzzle's a lot easier to build when you have all the right pieces.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and then if you don't do it that way, all of a sudden it's 6 months later, you're editing it, and if you have a shot you have to get, what do? Bring everybody back?
Exactly.
So you got to bring everybody back. Everybody's going to be involved in other projects.
Yeah, and you have to pay money again.
And exactly, it's like what if I have a project going on in Florida, I got a project in Ohio, I got a project in West Virginia, I have another project going on in Chicago, I got one in St. Louis. If I'm in St. Louis and you want me to come back here and I got a day or two done, it's going to cost you.
Yeah, a lot.
If I'm in New York and you want me to come back, which I got stuff in New York going on, and you want me to come back here and shoot, you're gonna have to stick me in a hotel. You're gonna have to feed me, fly me in, get me a car, drive me around.
Yeah, and still pay money for.
It's gonna cost you a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I'm a big fan of getting it done up front, and it's easier to do it in post if you got it in real life. If you shot it right to begin with, and if you don't know how to shoot it, which is something we've run into.
Really?
Oh God, it's like you're trying to shoot something and it's a very complicated shot.
And the person doesn't know how to do this?
I've run into things I couldn't figure out. You know what? You reach out there and you talk to everybody out there you know, and you find out who knows. Especially this is the best thing I have found. The film community in Chicago is pretty small. Most everybody knows everybody else. So if you find someone who's done something, you usually can reach out to them and ask them. That's one of the nice things about being in a market like Chicago. There's so many people that do this. It's not like Los Angeles where there's layers and layers and layers of people that don't want to talk about it. They give you a little different environment there. New York is like that too. Chicago is a lot more friendly. If you work in Chicago for a couple, 2-3 years, you pretty much a lot of people, and you'll have a lot of friends who know other people, and you can reach out and find things out.
But what about Los Angeles and New York?
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of union stuff. They don't want to talk to people outside the union. They don't want to. It's a lot more complicated there than it is here. Yeah,
okay, tell us about the union, like how together and why they are special. Those guys. Because I hear a lot about them, but many people don't know what's the difference between union and other.
Well, you have union and non-union. Union basically, it's a guaranteed wage for the camera people, or the actor. They get paid a guaranteed wage. In Chicago, it's SAG, Screen Actors Guild for actors. Then there's unions for the cameramen, unions for all kinds of different things. They do get paid a better wage, and a lot of times they are more qualified, competent people. That is true, you'll find that. But they also, in Chicago, most of the television shows are filmed at a place called CineSpace. And a lot of those shows spend, like Empire, I was involved with Empire for 3 years. They spend $1 million an episode to shoot a 1-hour TV show. Actually 44 minutes.
Wow.
Spent $1 million. Game of Thrones on HBO spent upwards of $6 million per episode.
Impressive.
A lot of special effects, a lot of different things, But
what's the movie you were talking today where they were involved 37 cameras?
Oh, that was actually the first Creed movie.
Which one?
Creed. It was, the Rocky story?
No.
Oh, the Rocky movies. I think there's been like 8 or 9 of them. They filmed 37 cameras for the final fight scene.
30 for
the final fight scene. Well, fight scenes are kind of interesting because those scenes, they were actually hitting each other, not hard, but they were hitting each other. So they recorded an actual fight. And all those angles, because whenever you throw a punch at somebody, as an example, I'm not actually going to hit you, but it's like you want to have the camera set up in such a way it looks like I'm hitting you, and you're reacting to me hitting you. So it looks like I hit you without me hitting you.
So for the fight scenes, they always bring lots of cameras, right?
Not always, but in that was a high-budget film. And the fight scene, the Rocky movie franchise is all about fight scenes. Yeah, there's been like 8 or 9 of those movies now, and the fight scenes are legendary.
So tell us about writing, like how you make money out of writing, like to who you sell your product and how much approximately it costs. Just like some rough numbers. Yeah,
well, like I said, right now you have networks like Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, that are buying stuff. Generally, the easiest way to get into writing is to get involved. Ink Tip is one. There are competitions, screenwriting competitions. You can write and submit.
Okay, and after that they will review and then they will decide if they want to buy it or not, right?
Well, yeah. If you become known as a script writer who writes good stuff, you know you could be approached. They'll do what's called optioning your script. They'll give you money, and then the optioning means they get a right to do something with it, which means they'll go out there and pitch it, see if they can raise money for it to do it. You know, or if you want to, as a screenwriter, you can get involved with people that shoot film, and you come up with a script and raise money and do that. That's probably the easier way to do it.
Do they pay on the spot or
No,
they pay after they shoot
if you're doing, well, that's a good question. If you're doing a movie like that, it's on speculation. You don't get paid anything. You may never get paid anything.
What?
You may well no. It's when you.
I want money right now. If I write something and I produce something, I want my money right now.
Well, it's supply and demand.
So
acting is the same way. You start off working for nothing, you know, or next to nothing, and all of a sudden you get known. And once you get known, you can start charging more.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, but it's like you have a lot of actors that work for nothing. You have a lot of actors that work for a little bit. And you have a handful of actors that make a ton.
Okay.
I mean, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson gets paid $50 million for a film. He worked for 3 months for $50 million.
Wow.
Yeah,
impressive.
but he's also, any movie he's in seems to be making a few $100 million back. Competition thing is generally pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, there's a number of them. Ink Tip is a very popular one. Film festivals, a lot of them have writing competitions as well. So you go to a film festival, some of the big ones, and it's like you put your script in competition, and it's like Netflix bought up a bunch of them from one of the big ones out west. They bought up, I think, 10 of their biggest films and a number of their scripts. And then they'll go out and they'll find directors, producers, and they'll put them together and make them.